I thought that success in business equaled my self-worth.
How many of us look to the outside world to define our self-worth instead of looking inside to discover our own value? My next guest is mollypositivepants, also known as Molly Smith, because of her approach to life with grit and positivity. Her struggles with overeating, alcohol, and always being in the funk led her on a path to transformation. Today, Molly's life passion is in helping people reach their optimal health, wellness, and tackling those tough problems. Welcome, Molly Smith. How are you today? Such an honor, such a pleasure to have this beautiful face sitting here with me and getting down to business for sure.
Let's do it.
Okay, so Molly, tell us a little bit about how you got to where you are. We all have a story.
Yes. So I spent the last 20 years building my career, climbing the corporate ladder, because for a long time, I thought that success in business equaled my self-worth. I was raising two boys and putting everybody else's needs ahead of my own, and just got to a place where I was stuck. I was in a funk and I was completely unfulfilled. And it wasn't until about 5 years ago that despite my corporate success and the achievements that I had in the business world, I knew I was only going to go so far until I started focusing on my health, because I'd put that on the back burner as well. And so I reached a point where the pain of staying the same was greater than the pain of change. And I decided it's time. I've got to do something. So I started leaning into my health about 5 years ago and completely transformed my health. I was obese. I had high blood pressure. I had all kinds of things going on, and I was able to transform my health. During that journey, in that same time, I realized that I just had a passion for helping people do the same because my life had been so transformed.
Yeah, I hear that when I coach so much. I was the same. You want to go up the ladder in the corporate world, and so much of it is based on, well, if I work 20 hours a day, well, if I'm the first one in the morning and the last one out at night, they'll see my self-worth. They'll see my value. And it's interesting how all of us, put our worth, our value, not good enough, into something exterior.
Yes. In the hands of somebody else. They don't realize it, right? That you've put your worth and your self-esteem and your value as a human in the hands of somebody who's running their part of the business. And it can be soul crushing when you get to a place where it's like, I can't operate based on somebody else's opinion of me.
It takes a lot to get there. I remember in one of my years at a magazine, the publisher, he'd be in early in the morning and he'd go around the foyer to the desk and look in and see, who's the A team here? Who's here? And I always got in early, not because I was part of the A team, but, and he'd say, oh, there's the A team right there. I wasn't part of the A team at that point. When we look at your career and how you let your health go, I imagine there are so many people like you where they put themselves last. They put their job first, and they are kind of on the back burner. And it's got to be an aha moment when you stop from that hamster wheel, if you will, and say, wait a second, I'm playing this game all wrong. And it takes a lot to say that and then to do something about it. I know we talked about the corporate world and making the change and all of that. How did you, once you realized that you were putting yourself up front, how did you go about creating the changes you wanted to see?
So 5 years ago, when I decided, okay, I need to drop this excess weight and really focus on my health, I hired a coach, funnily enough. And so I hired a coach to help me. And I've had multiple coaches. Just like, Coach Michael Burt says, everybody needs a coach in life. I absolutely agree. I hired a coach. At the same time, I was also working with an executive coach. And as I was having this physical transformation, my mindset was also shifting. And I started to be in rooms with people who were healthy, who were successful, who were enjoying life, and they weren't working 70 hours a week like I was. And I remember my executive coach at the time, she said, Molly, do you think that your boss and the CEO are working 70 hours a week? And I was like, absolutely not. Of course they're not. She goes, what would happen if you just dialed back, you worked 40 to 45 hours a week, you put some healthy boundaries in place? What would happen? And I was like, I don't know, because in my head, I was thinking this thing's going to fall apart if I'm not here. Now, that is not the reality. And so I put some of those healthy boundaries in place. And what I discovered was that I was more productive in my workday. I was happier. I had more space, mental space, and capacity to be present for my family, to be present in my health, and to start building relationships in this new community that I was in. And it was just one little thing that begat another thing that begat another thing. And so it was this snowball effect. And what I can look back now and see that was a trajectory shifter in my life, saying yes to my health. I needed to lose 50 pounds, and I did, but I didn't realize that saying yes to this was going to mean a complete timeline shift in my life.
Once you do that, the lens opens.
Correct.
And so much more happens.
Yes.
In your life.
Doors opened. I started saying yes to things I never dreamed possible, ever. And there was, a season for about a year and a half or so that I would say yes to things that I never thought possible, just to prove to myself that I could do it. And I did that a handful of times, and it was like, okay, all right. Like, if I say yes, if I make a decision and take an action, I can make it happen. And I've seen that time and time again over the last 5-6 years.
You just stole my line, by the way. When I do podcasts or when I work with clients, it's all about saying yes, of course. Because when I got started in sales, I was offered a sales job. I'd never done sales. She said, oh, but the fashion world. Okay, but that's different than selling. That was a turning point for me. I could have walked away and said, oh my God, what if I fail? I don't want to be vulnerable. I said yes. That changed the whole trajectory of my life and where I went. So we are definitely on the same page to this day. Say yes. What do you have to lose? Unless somebody's going to ask you to jump off a bridge, say yes, as you did, as I did. And the thing about it is, look where it took you to this place today.
And the future's bright. I got a big vision for where I'm going, right? Big vision for where I'm going. So I keep saying yes in the day-to-day when I don't feel like it. Sometimes it's a begrudging yes, but it's like, okay, just say yes and keep going.
And I think it's great that even though we live in the moment and we live in the now, but having a vision of where you want to go. And my hunches go back for you X years. Somewhere in you, my guess is you had a vision even though it would have been clouded or some part of you had a vision. And once you cleared the forest, so to speak, you can move through and get to where you are. I sit here talking to this amazingly beautiful woman that was overweight, had an alcohol issue, and now is healthy. And let's talk about how you're creating change in the world with the people you are working with. Because I've seen pictures of the before and the after. Amazing.
I know. And I love the good before and after. So I've been a health and mindset coach for a couple of years. I've helped a couple hundred people, kind of lean into their health. And what's so fascinating is that when we share vulnerably, whether in person or online, it attracts community. And so when I have shared my struggles with my health, using alcohol as a way to numb and escape all of the things, I have been able to attract and partner with people who are looking for the same breakthroughs in their life. And so that, I think, has been some of the most rewarding work that I've done, because it's not just their life that gets transformed, it's the people around that person, it's their family trees. So the thing that I have, the program that I coach, and the people that I help, I literally have the ability to change generations of families who are saying, I'm going to be the last one in my family to be the emotional eater, or to, be face first in a pizza on a Friday night, because my health is going to help me show up better for the work that I've been called to do, that I'm here to do. And as a result, they're going to have a different impact in the world. I mean, how cool is that?
Very cool.
Amazing.
Very cool. If only more people adhered to that philosophy. I used to be like 15 pounds heavier years ago, and I ate. I didn't eat, but I ate, right? When I went away to college, I gained 15 pounds.
Oh, yeah.
And it was, losing it, gaining it, losing it, gaining it. And there was nobody in my family that was obese, for sure. But we do that, instead of learning healthy ways to deal with our emotions. Please don't go away, more to come. This episode is brought to you by Try Coaching. Did you know that every successful person has had a coach? Today, having a coach isn't just for executives, leaders, and the top echelon in business. What about finding that special coach that you could open up to and discover more of who you are and go from being stuck to being successful? What are you waiting for? Make that investment in yourself. You deserve it. Please reach out and let's start a conversation. So when you work with someone, helping them lose that weight, whatever amount it is, how do you work with them in dealing with the emotional side? Because there's got to be a struggle.
Yeah. Reaching a healthy weight, unwinding some of those bad habits, establishing good habits. All of that is really a mindset. It's a mindset game, right? It's a mindset. And so when I am working with my clients who are active right now, I touch base with them every single week for a handful of minutes. Sometimes it's, 5 to 10 minutes. And the key question that I ask is, what are you noticing? Right? Or if there's like, oh yeah, I was face first in a pint of Ben and Jerry's. Okay. Well, what happened before? Like, what happened during the day? What was the trigger? Right? Was there an email? Was there a conversation with your boss or your child or whoever that triggered you? Right? And so we go back to see, okay, what was that impetus there? Okay. In the moment, right, we made that decision. That's okay. Look, I'm not the food police. I'm not the alcohol police. Like that's not my thing. Right. But if we can go back to that trigger and then identify, okay, when does that trigger come up? Then what can we do in those moments when you are triggered? So it's about building that awareness muscle and then putting in another action that they can take to disrupt the habit loop that gets them face first in the Ben and Jerry's. Right.
Absolutely. I love that. You talk a lot about, in some of the articles that I've read, being in a funk,
Oh, yes.
the funk, which led to your new book, What the Funk.
Uh-huh.
So talk about that for a little
Yeah.
bit.
It's so fascinating when you are open and available for all kinds of opportunities, things just come flowing your way. And last year I had a friend who asked me, she's like, have you ever thought about writing a book? And I was like, yeah, maybe someday or whatever. And she goes, well, let me connect you. I just signed on with this new publisher. So I connected with this publisher and signed a book deal, had no idea. I knew I wanted to write about my story. I did not know how it was going to come together. And as I was really thinking through my health journey, I've gone through some things and being out of alignment in my job. And, I gave up alcohol, over a year ago because it was not serving me. And I just realized like I have been in a series of funks for a lot of years. And I've done a lot of work on myself, personal development work, therapy, EMDR. I mean, you name it. I've done a lot of work. And what I've realized is that I can share what I've learned when I was in a funk. So I'm about to finish the manuscript for What the Funk, a practical guide to getting out of the funk in your health, your mindset, and your purpose. And it is like riddled with my stories of how I have been in a funk and how I got out of it. And so I'm super excited about it. It comes out in January 2025. And I really am just hoping, my heart is to put a tool in the hands of other people like me who care about showing up, whether it's in the second half, like I'm starting this kind of second half of my life. I've got adult-ish kids and I have got a clear vision for what I want, but that doesn't keep me out of the funk. And so the tools and the resources that I am layering into this book are going to help people literally identify, how do I know I'm in a funk? What does pursuing alignment mean? Pursuing alignment in this area. And then what is your very next best step? So very practical.
No matter how much you've worked on yourself, no matter how much you've done, we're human.
Oh, yes.
And we get into funks. Nobody says, well, I did 7 years of analysis 3 times a week. I did other modalities to help me because I didn't even know I was in the funk. I couldn't even find it. We all get or have funks. I think that with your book and what you're saying, it's okay, but have the tools to be able to pull yourself out, that you don't need to grab the donut or go to Dunkin' Donuts and buy 12 donuts and sit and stuff them in your mouth.
Or the bottle of wine or the scotch and soda, right? Yes. Yeah. And what I found too is this is not like I haven't arrived. I haven't arrived. Like I never arrive. It's a journey, right? I mean, your health is like the laundry, it's never done. Your personal development, your emotional eating, all of those things, like those things creep up because we're human. And so like it doesn't end. You just continue on the journey and you build and collect some tools that help you along the way. And that's what I'm hoping the book will be for the readers.
Well, I can't wait to get it with a signed copy, of course.
You got it, of course.
And it's coming out in January. As we start to wrap up, would you please give our audience some nuggets on when they get into a funk, what they can do?
Yeah.
Steal a few lines from your book.
Yes. So I'll tell you. So this is from a mindset perspective. When I find myself in a funk, when I'm vibrating low, my energy is low, I've got negative thoughts swirling in my head, it almost always goes back to what I am consuming, what I'm reading, what I'm watching, what I'm scrolling, who I'm around. And so I can go through now, to me, it's a mental checklist. I've been doing this for over a year. Am I scrolling too much? Am I binge watching something that I've seen 1,000 times on Netflix? Where am I out of alignment? Where am I spending my white space time, that free time that's not dedicated to something? And I always can pinpoint where I am spending time consuming content that is not serving me. And so when I'm feeling down about myself, when I'm feeling like nobody's going to read the book, nobody's going to listen, right? Like all of that self-doubt, I am typically spending that white space time doing something that is not serving me. So what do I do? First, I ask myself, what can I do? Can I set a timer on my phone for 15 minutes while I scroll Instagram? And when it goes off, get up off the couch, go outside and water the plants. Like I got to physically get up and move my state, or I will sit there and scroll for hours and hours, right? It's very easy to do. So building that awareness muscle and really dialing in and getting clear on how are we spending that white space time so that we can help curate a more positive outlook, mindset, thoughts, and beliefs about ourselves.
Great, great advice. And I would add, be watchful and mindful of what goes on in your mind.
Oh, yes.
What I tell my clients, sit on your shoulder, be the watchdog, be the person that watches what goes on between our ears.
That's right.
Because the mind will trick you. When it wants that donut, it wants Ben and Jerry's, it will find a million ways to get there.
Absolutely.
It's having a game plan is what Molly laid out, to have it and go to it and stop right there and say, okay, this isn't serving me. I'm going to go, what are the plans? Cook something I love, do something to have it stop. What the Funk, is that going to be in bookstores, on Amazon, where?
Yes, it'll be in all major retailers and Amazon in January, early January.
So if anyone in the audience is having health issues, can really relate to Molly's story, please, Molly, tell us how people can get in touch with you.
Yes, the best way to get in touch with me, you can find me on Facebook. Molly Moore Smith is my handle, or on Instagram, molly.positivepants, or you can email me at mollypositivepants.com.
And I will say that's what attracted me to Molly. Molly Positive Pants. I love that. And when I saw that, I said, whoa, who is this person? And that's how I actually connected with you.
Oh, I love it. I love it, Terry.
Molly, this has been so incredibly informative and transformational. When I look at you, this is somebody that has transformed herself. And we can all do it if we put tools in place to do it. Absolutely. I am sure.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you, Molly, for today. It's been truly a pleasure. I've so enjoyed it.
Likewise.
I hope this compelling and extraordinary conversation offered you thoughts on how you can create changes in your life. Reviews encourage people to listen to my podcasts. If you loved what you heard, please go to Apple Podcasts and leave a rating and review. For related content on extraordinary work, please visit my website, trycoaching.com. My next guest is Cynthia Kleinbaum, a transformative leader in female empowerment and marketing. In 2023, armed with her empowerment mindset, she co-founded the leading corporate network for US-based Latinas. She launched the podcast A La Latina, Succeed Being Your Authentic Self, which is aimed at increasing Latino representation in corporate America's C-suite. This is an episode you won't want to miss.